Exploring the paranormal perspective. Perspective. Exploring the paranormal perspective. Exploring the paranormal perspective.
You're supposed to say the lines.
Oh, is it? I got. I gotta say that.
Yes.
Public service announcement. The views and opinions are the opinions. Fuck that bullshit. They are my opinions and my guests, no one else's. Remember, this show ain't for chitlins' ears, so listening discretion and viewing discretion is advised. This is a paranormal horror crime show, so the scenes and the sounds could be a little terrifying to those little ears and those little eyeballs. And of course, there's obviously cussing. I mean, it's me. Also, please don't do anything that these stupid ass people do in this video or this podcast. This is for entertainment purposes and for you guys to listen with your ears, consume the knowledge. And now, time for the show.
And
Exploring the paranormal perspective.
Go figure. Technical difficulties. What's up, everybody? It's Jonna with Exploring the Paranormal Perspective and founder of G.E.E.K.S Paranormal. Welcome to the show. You're at Exploring the Paranormal Perspective, and I have a wonderful guest, Michael Kopf. Is it Kopf or is it Kopf? Michael Kopf. Here's the song. Hang on. What is up? What is up? RCPR says, hi, Sean, Michael. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being on the show today. We were sitting there chit-chatting, and I had poor Michael thinking that we were already started. I'm sorry. We were just sitting there talking.
I was like, this is cool. Great conversation.
No, well, that's exactly what I want this show to be. It's just a big conversation of what you do, what you promoting the stuff that you've done. And we're going to start off with the very first question that I have is about your very first paranormal experience at the age of 2. Like, do you remember that, or were you told that you had a paranormal experience?
So I remembered as a teenager, it's like it's almost like a dream where it came to me, and I was like, it felt so real that when I asked somebody about it, they were like, yeah, that actually happened. And you were
Wow.
2, and here's some other tidbits. And then I had a medium tell me some stuff that went on. And then further on, it was like I got more information from that medium, and my mom was going, yeah, and here's some tidbits of the story. And so through my own memory, talking to a medium, talking with my mom, I was able to piece together a whole picture of what happened when I was 2. And the fact that it's like having that recall was like so strange, because it's like I don't remember much about those years, but it's like
Mhm.
that event I remember.
Oh, wow. Well, how did it shape your understanding of the paranormal?
Well, it shaped my understanding because it showed me that things that we may dream about and think are so real quite possibly are real and
Mhm.
did happen. And so it got me in the pursuit of, well, what other unexplained things that go on, that we experience, are they paranormal? What are they? And
Yeah.
at first, when I got introduced to the paranormal, I was thinking like the TV shows. They're ghost hunters,
Yeah.
they're going to locations and trying to talk to spirits, and that's paranormal. And a
That
couple of
is.
years ago, a friend of mine had an online newsletter and was like, "Hey, why don't you write some articles for it?" I was like, "Okay, cool." And so I was sitting there and I wrote an article about myself, and then I was like, "Well, what should I write for the second article?" And I was like, "Well, everybody always asks what's the paranormal. So why don't I just write an article and we'll just get ahead of that curve?" And while I was writing this article, I define it. I go over, different examples of what modalities that are or techniques are in it. And then at the end, I go, well, to summarize, I guess the easiest way to say what is the paranormal is anything that's unexplained. And then it's like something in my brain went boom. And I was like, I can start to cover this topic, this topic, this topic. And I was like, man,
You had your own free reign to do whatever you wanted to, or to say whatever you wanted to say on it, huh?
yeah, I was like,
Ah,
and it was actually kind of interesting because whenever I was talking to people and like, well, I've never had a paranormal experience, I go, you've never had something happen that you can't explain? Oh, well, yeah, I've had that. I was like, then you had a paranormal experience. I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah.
Well, I know that you mentioned seeing shadow beings throughout your childhood. So, what are some of the encounters like? Like, how did they influence your journey through into the paranormal?
So, in full honesty, when I saw them, it would be out of the corner of my eye. And so I always viewed them as just spirits that were being playful, having fun, like playing games. And whenever I would look and see them, they would just disappear. And so I would view it as a game of going, do I want them to know I see them yet? How close will they get? And then I'll be like, ha ha. And so I thought they were just fun spirits, never thought anything about it. Then I get into the paranormal and everyone starts talking about shadows and these dark elements, and I'm like, holy crap, I grew up with that. And I was like, they didn't seem as dark and evil to me. And so I've started to come to an understanding that there are, with every spirit in the spirit world here, everything, you have the good side and the bad side. They're not all, no one is one way. And so fortunately I grew up with the nice shadow spirits.
Well, I don't think all shadow spirits are evil either. I think that, it's like another friend of mine states, if you're an asshole in life, you're going to be an asshole in death. So regardless of if you see a full body apparition, if you hear something, or if you see a shadow or even a mist, if they are malevolent or act like assholes, and they were probably one in real life. That's just my
But
thing.
yeah, but I think what it allowed me to do though would be, I would say, is when I saw an apparition for the first time, I didn't freak out about it. I just viewed it as like, oh, it's spirit having fun.
Yeah.
And so I
They were just
guess
playing hide and
it
seek with
kind
you.
of calmed me down to where it was like a regular occurrence. So it's like I wouldn't get freaked out by the paranormal.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that because you were still a kid.
I mean, it was a while too. I mean, it was, I would say from 6 to like 12, I would see him
Oh
all the time
wow.
out of the corner of my eyes. And then what was even funnier is getting into science fiction. I was watching a show, Doctor Who,
Oh,
and they
the
go, the
great show.
silence episode.
Oh
And I
yes.
started thinking, God, were those shadow beings the silence? And I was looking at them, and then I forgot whatever they wanted me to do.
Oh no. Oh no.
So
Could
it
be.
is funny how our brain will start to like go, wait, that's similar to what I had, and start to matrix into your mind. Is that what happened?
It kind of
What
make
did I
it.
forget now?
It kind of makes you think about some of these writers and some of the episodes of Doctor Who, though, and be like, "Oh my gosh, did these people have paranormal, encounters in their life? Do they see paranormal things too?" And that's what they wrote into the story because they've
I
had a
think
lot
so,
of
and
creepy
the
ones.
there isn't, you know, one thing I will give to Doctor Who is introducing us to all the different aliens. That
Yeah.
they did it in such a cool way to where it's like, oh, okay, these are really cool ones. These, probably don't want to hang around with or see. But the
uh,
ones that always, when they would come on, would always make me cringe was the weeping angels.
oh my gosh, those I
Because they're
think are
like,
the creepiest.
I was like, those are the only ones that I was like, if I ever see those, I am so screwed
Yeah,
because
right.
you blink and they come closer and then you just disappear. And it's like, how do you go days without blinking?
Yeah, you
It's just,
can't. You can't. We're
so
all
it's like,
goners.
I know, it's like, but then it's like, I started thinking about it though, going, what if they faced each other? What, would they be locked in an eternal gaze, like, a mirror?
They
And it's like,
would.
or like put a mirror in front of them and be like, can I blink now because it's looking at itself?
That's a good. Oh my gosh! Now we have to get them to write an episode.
I know. Be like, hey guys,
Turn them and
you
pay
guys
somebody.
watching this?
That is scary because where do you go? You don't know where you go. That
I know.
is.
And then
Hmm.
you're not always gonna have this dude or lady that pops out of a police box
To
going,
help you.
okay, step in here, you'll be totally fine.
Too true. That's kind of like kind of a concept of the time warps that a lot of people experience too, because a lot of people can experience like their time just splitting away. I had a friend of mine that actually there's a house close to here where I live that they went to, and they went in for maybe 15, 20 minutes, but their friends were outside and their friends were outside for hours. And whenever they came out of the house, they noticed it was dark outside instead of light outside. They're like, "Wow, we were only gone for 15 minutes. What time did we go in?" And they had experienced a time jump or whatever people call it. I've never experienced it. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
I have actually, where I'll be. I've kind of called it tunnel vision because I'll be
Hmm.
so focused on what's going on, and I'll be looking and I'll be like looking, and I feel like I've only done a couple of searches for something, and then I'll look at the clock and 3 hours has passed, and I'm like, where, what, how?
Right? I've never experienced anything like that. I would be kind of freaked out to know that some of my time was gone, especially 3 hours of my time whenever I thought it was only like 10, 15 minutes.
But actually, one thing that was funny about time was I was driving to a friend's house, and she lives 45 minutes away,
Hmm.
and I turn the car on, I start driving, and the next thing I know, I'm at her house. And
Oh,
I'm like, how did I get here so fast? And I look at the clock and it's 45 minutes, but to me, it seemed like I just left, got on the highway, now I'm at her house.
oh, so it's like you experienced, like you weren't even there.
It's like whatever happened between getting on the highway to her house happened in a mere second to me.
Wow. That's kind of creepy. Like, you
I
don't
know.
know
I
what
was
you've done
like,
on the road.
I know. I was like, who? I literally, I looked up and I said, whoever took over my car for this experience, thank you for not getting me in an accident. But in future reference, do not ever do this again.
Right? I don't care if you like to drive or not. Don't do it.
Yeah. I'm like, my insurance doesn't cover you.
Well, you also have studies in is it Huna energy? I don't know how you pronounce
Huna.
that. Huna and energy healing. Explain a little bit of that to me because I've never heard of Huna.
So, Huna is a healing technique that comes from Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the original sort of religion for them. And they viewed you could do symbols and and the body has energy, and when you put energy into certain symbols you could either protect yourself or heal yourself, or if you were trying to gain insight into something it could unlock a memory maybe, or help people by, it's almost like a precursor to Reiki would be a way to put it.
Oh, okay.
And so it's learning how to use the body, and the body can do so much that it's like you cut your finger, you could do a symbol over your finger and it would like heal it up.
Oh.
And the pain would disappear. And, but I didn't study too, I forget how far I went into it, but there's so many levels, and I think we just stopped because we were like, okay, this is as far as we feel like we wanted to go with it. And so I yeah, I couldn't really explain what all of it is, but it was ancient Hawaiian and it's underground now, and so it's
Oh, wow.
starting to resurface.
Oh, interesting. Now, how do you believe that these modalities connect with your experiences in the paranormal?
I think that they allow me to go in and be more present and more like wanting to understand what's happening than the people who, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to upset anybody, but when you're a paranormal and investigator and you go in and the slightest sound and you're running out the door does not make one a really good paranormal investigator, in
No,
my opinion.
same. My opinion too.
So I I feel like learning these modalities, I feel more protected and I feel more safe to stand my ground and be like, okay, what's here? And if it is something that I can talk to or interact with, I stick around. And if it's something I start to feel like, I'm thinking, going outside's a good idea right now, I go outside.
Right?
But I
I
don't
think a
take
lot of
on,
those that go in and scream whenever they hear a noise are not investigators. They're more like wanting to just do it for the thrill. They're ghost hunters.
yeah. And as TV shows go, I was like, I got a lot of respect for the crew on Destination Fear. It's now Project Fear,
Hmm.
because they actually went on one of the episodes, I forget which season it was, but Dakota asked for them to make a sound. They make a sound, they run out, but then they come back in, and Dakota goes, I know we asked you to make a sound, and we apologize. We ran out on you making that sound. And I was like, to me, that took a lot of courage
Yeah, it
as a
did.
TV personality to own what you did.
That you did was a mistake. Like, look, I got.
Yeah,
I met them a couple of years ago at a convention, and I grabbed that, and I've been wearing it ever since because it glows in the dark. I love it.
that is cool. But yeah,
But
it's like,
mm,
to me, that made them like one of the more credible shows because it showed, yeah, they're human, but two,
mm,
they owned, they ran out when
yeah,
they shouldn't have.
yeah. No.
and apologized to the spirit. I was like, that was even like a step
Very
up and going,
respectful.
yeah,
Yeah. Because that spirit was just doing what you asked it to do.
exactly. It's like,
And
don't ask for something you don't want.
exactly. Well,
But it irritates me though a little bit when I go to places and everyone's like, "Oh, spirit, you can scratch any of us and or you can use our energies." And I'm like, "Excuse me? I don't think so." One, I don't want to be scratched or punched or, hurt in any way. And two, who gave you the right to hand out my energy willy-nilly? That's like, no.
right. Now, if it was just to yourself, like I did that once. I asked the spirit, I said, now don't break any skin, please. I do not believe you're a bad spirit or a malevolent spirit. I just believe you're trying to get people's attention. But could you lightly scratch me and let us videotape it so we can see what it is? Well, they did, and they didn't break skin. It was just a light scratch, and I turn red pretty easily. So they did it and we got it on camera. Now ask me where that's at. I couldn't tell you. I don't know where that video is. I'm trying to find it still. But it was an awesome, awesome catch because they had it right on my neck and you could see the red line just forming where they had scratched. And I had my fingers right there so they could see my fingers. And it was just amazing to watch. But I did ask just for me. And I think it's okay if you ask it just for yourself. But like you said, I don't want to get punched. I don't want to get kicked. I don't want to get pushed downstairs. I just want some kind of evidence to show we know you're here. We want to get your story out. Show me, you know?
Yeah. And
I've-
I have
uh,
a friend who, he's a lot of fun to investigate with, but he's an instigator
oh
and
no.
it, and I I'll investigate with him knowing that because he'll take it himself. He's like he'll
Yeah.
instigate for himself. And yeah, other people are around, but he'll always say push me or
Yeah.
knock me over.
Always
Or if
emphasize.
somebody's with them that, that's their thing, they'll keep it to that not and like they won't say push me over because I'm with them. It's like they're, unlike the one TV show where the guy instigates and then sends somebody else, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, if you're gonna instigate, you best take care of it yourself.
or
No.
cries demons all the time or
Oh
good
yeah.
lord. I
Uh,
understand that. No, don't put your team, especially if you are a leader of a team, don't put your team in danger because of something you want done. You do it yourself. Uh-huh. Do it
exactly.
yourself. Ask them for you, not okay, I did this, now you're going down there. What?
Yeah.
No.
Like I stirred them up for you. They're really mad now. So, you're Mr. Innocent. You go down there and see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think so.
Yep. No, not at all. Well, you have experienced a couple of near death experiences. Can you describe kind of how each one of those events impacted your perspective on life and the afterlife?
So, my experience, the main one that I remember, how it happened was so I don't really get sick very often.
Mm.
And if I do, it's like over in like an hour or two. I I don't know why it just works that way, but one night I was sitting at home and it's the summer here in
Mm.
Texas to give you an idea, and I
Oh
start
God.
feeling cold. And I'm like when I say cold, I mean like it feels like your bones are starting to turn to ice
Oh
cold.
gosh.
And I was like, what is going on? This is
Right?
not normal, especially summer when it's like triple digits outside.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
that is not normal at all.
I shouldn't be cold. And I changed out of a t-shirt and put a long sleeve shirt on, and I'm like, "Dang, I'm still cold. What is going on?" And I get up and I put a blanket over me, and I'm like, still freezing cold to the bone. It's like I just cannot warm up.
Huh.
And so I call my mom, who I work with. I worked for my parents at the time, and I was like, "Mom, I'm feeling ice cold to the bone. Something's wrong. I may not be coming into work tomorrow." And she's like, "Just take, drink some water, go to sleep, and see how you feel in the morning." I'm like, "All right," because she knows me. If it is something, it'll probably be gone in the morning. Well,
Mhm.
in the process, so the room I'm in is hardwood floor. Then I cross my tile floor entry and enter the carpet hallway, and my bedroom is carpeted, and I'm pointing this out for a reason. I walk in, and all of a suddenly it's like everything starts to spin a little bit. And I'm like, well, this is kind of weird. Why is, my perception being messed with?
Mhm.
And I have a hardwood, real wood four-post bed. Well, next thing I know, I open my eyes and I'm on the floor. And I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, why does my chin hurt? And I go into the master bathroom, and I'm looking in the mirror, and there's this big red spot, like looked like dry blood on my chin. And I was like, "Oh my god, I hit my chin on the post of the bed."
Oh
And I'm
God.
like, "Thank God it didn't break my jawbone or whatever bone this is around the chin." And all of a suddenly, I'm looking, and all of a sudden, this just purge happens, and I'm like, "What was that?" And
Right?
I finally get it all cleaned up. And I realize I feel something, and so I turn and look, and I'm like, "Wait a minute. I'm the only one here. How am I sensing something?
Oh.
And what is going on?" And this is sensing something like I've never sensed something before. Like, I could always get kind of a feeling like spirit was around,
Mhm.
but it was like this was like on another level of going like it's like I could feel them approaching the room, like knowing where they were,
Oh my
how fast they were
God.
moving. And I'm looking, and it's like all of a suddenly it's like I stop and I think, and I'm like, I'm no longer frozen. My warmth has returned, and I feel
Oh.
totally fine.
Better when we're
And the one thing I
together.
never did was
Yeah, it's always
What?
better when
I
we're
never looked at a clock to see
together.
how much time had gone by.
Oh no.
So I'm like, and I wrote it off at first as being just a paranormal experience, just something
Yeah.
that happened. And when I was talking with the guest on my show about near death experience, I was like, I had an experience similar to that, but I wasn't at a hospital. And he looked at me and goes, "Doesn't have to be at a hospital." I said, "Oh." So I told him about it, and he goes, "Yeah, you had a near death experience." Because I was thinking if I didn't have a doctor's note to prove, I had done that, who's gonna believe
Yeah.
that's what that is? And so that's why I love doing shows as well, is you hear experiences and they're
Yeah.
similar to yours, and it's like you feel validated for having your experience
Yeah.
and learning that not everything is defined as we think it's defined.
Right. It's not what we thought.
Yeah. But I feel like it opened up my senses, and I was just able to have I guess, a deeper connection to the spirit world.
Well, how many times have you how many times have you had a near death experience? Has it just been the one or
I've had 3 different ones that I can recall,
Oh.
and they're very, like, different. Like, the second one that I had was I just blanked out somewhere and came to and was like, "Oh, man, I now can, hear this," and my thoughts, like, starting to look at things, I started looking at them differently. Like, I would see a show and go, "Oh, I've never s even though I've seen this show, like, 100 times, I've never seen it in this way," and it's like, "Oh my god, look at what they're showing here. Look
Huh.
at the," and it's like a new awareness of everything around me started coming in, and so, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And the other one, I don't fully remember what happened with it, and I don't remember what a change was made, but I started to realize, yeah, it's like something in me is going, okay, we're now activating this, so we got to do a shutdown, reboot to activate, kind of like a computer. And I was like, I remember sitting there saying after that one, going, okay, guys, if there are any more of these reboots, stop doing it this way. It's becoming too much and it's unpredictable because there's no warning when they come.
Oh man. That's
Just like,
scary.
that one day where I was feeling sick and passed out and hit the bed. It's like, what if I'd gone out that night
Oh God, right?
or was in the car driving somewhere, just
Oh.
clearing the mind? And so it's like, yeah, I was like, I had to sit down with the guides and everybody and say, Okay, change in plan. We're no longer doing these ways. Let's
Oh my gosh.
reformat this."
Wow, no kidding. Oh my God, that would be scary. I mean, it's scary in and of itself already, but to think that you would be driving down a road and that happened, that is, oh my God.
I know, because it's like they would just you'd so it's like in a matter of minutes, it's like you feel uncomfortable, you're feeling like something's off, and then boom, and then you're back, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah,
So glad I wasn't operating something right now.
right, definitely. Oh my gosh. Well, you had just mentioned your podcasts. Like you have a couple of them. You want to go ahead and name off what they are?
Sure. So Tuesday nights, I do The Energy That Surrounds Us, which is my delving into the paranormal and different paranormal topics. Then I have on Wednesday nights is Writing Through the Unknown, where I have a passion of delving into what I feel like are elements of our history that we've been told about probably once and then it was pushed under a carpet, so to speak, and never mentioned again. So
Yeah.
I call it the esoteric series because I look for all the hidden things and stuff that should be normal, like, people doing healing techniques where they're doing hypnosis or they're doing something to help you learn how you can heal yourself and be free of other things. I'm like, this should be out there. This shouldn't be having to search really long and hard to find this. It should be readily out there. So that's kind of what I created that show for, is
Okay.
to help promote things that it's like,
Like a
yeah,
one and done. Somebody
civilizations
does something
who
once.
are on maps and then they just suddenly disappeared. It's like, why did they
Yeah.
disappear?
Yeah.
And why is it so hush hush about them? And so, yeah, it's kind of my way of shining light on different things. And then twice a month on Thursdays, I do Paranormal Versus with Kel Ridley. She's in the UK. And so it started out her and I, and we'd just be talking about paranormal topics and sometimes we'd get into conspiracy topics. And we be looking at it from like, how is this, talked about in the UK? How is it talked about in the US? Well,
Mhm.
this season we have a Knox Smith joined the the team, so there's 3 of us this season. And then, as if that wasn't enough, Thursday nights when it airs, I am a part of the B system, which is Emily Men's house.
Yeah.
And we go on and we talk about political conspiracy theories, and that's a lot of fun. So yeah, I kind of have myself into 4 shows now.
Oh my gosh. I said you were busy in the beginning, and that's one of the things we were talking about, everybody. In the whenever we first came on, y'all weren't here. We were talking about him being a busy bee. Speaking of busy bee, you have traveled extensively and encountered a lot of paranormal phenomena in various countries. Could you share one of your most memorable experiences?
Sure. So, one that gets talked a lot about is in France. So, I'll just say if you follow me on my channels, there's a lot of episodes about that, especially recently. So, I'll table that one and I'll share with you Egypt, because
Ooh.
that actually happened probably, let's see, I think that was in 2014, and it happened in March around this time.
Oh
Well, actually,
wow.
it probably ended more closer to like 6 days ago, but it's closest to my memory being that it's the same month. But so we're took a Nile cruise and we went up the Nile from the temples, and they were root chakra all the way up to the crown chakra being the king's pyramid, the great pyramids of Giza. And
Mhm.
we drove up there, and as we're driving up there, I'm looking at the 3 pyramids up there and thinking, God, this is just like the history books. And how cool is it that I'm able to walk in the same places that this ancient civilization has, and it's so
Right?
much has not changed. It looks like just like what
Really?
it looks like back then. And I started like looking at it and going, wait a minute, there's more than 3 pyramids up here. I strictly remember Giza had 3 pyramids on the plateau. There's like
Yeah.
9 to 10 pyramids up there.
Really?
I was like, huh? And I was like, there is more pyramids up here. And this was the piece of the puzzle that really shook me. Sitting just below the plateau, the Giza plateau, is the Great Sphinx. It actually sits right in front of the pyramids. They always show the angle of the Sphinx with all this
Right.
open sand, and I'm like, yeah, sorry, folks, the pyramids are right behind it. They
Oh
are
my
like
gosh.
literally neighbors.
So the 3 plus the other 6 that are there.
And the Sphinx are all in the same spot.
Wow. What is your concept on that? Because a lot of people think that the pyramids were made not by the slaves they say they were made by, but by UFOs, aliens. What do you think of that?
There is some credence to that because these stones are heavier than anything we can move today. It's like if you were to pick up one of these blocks today with modern equipment, it would break the modern equipment.
Really?
So, yeah, they showed where they tried to pick up a block the same size as one of the cornerstones of the pyramid,
Mhm.
and the crane bent and nearly flipped over because the weight was so heavy in the front, it couldn't lift it.
Wow.
And so it's like your mind automatically goes to, how did people lift it then? I don't care if you had 100 people on that block. They are not stronger than that crane being made of
Right.
steel.
No.
So something different happened. And when you're standing there looking at it, there's like such precision
Mhm.
that they would have had to have something more precise than a laser. Because even our lasers have some rigid edges to it when they cut.
Mhm.
These are perfectly smooth. Like you could barely slide a piece of paper into these joints of every stone stacked.
Oh,
And I was like,
wow.
we can't recreate this today. We don't have this technology of building today. And we think we're the more advanced people. And I'm like, so did aliens build them? I don't know if they built them, but I would say they sure helped. And I feel like there are some technologies out right now of like sounds where you can play a certain tone and objects will float.
Yeah.
So they could have had sound harmonic equipment where they could just like anti-gravity push the rock in place, set it, turn it off, and be like, okay, next. And they could build fast that way. Because that's the other thing. These structures, they say, were built in a period of 10 years.
Oh my gosh. That is
And
crazy.
that would be physically impossible because the quarry is not even on site. It's down south on the Nile. So you have to
Huh.
go to the quarry, cut the stone, get it on the barge, load it up, unload it, have them carry it from the shore of the Nile up to the plateau, then place it into place. And there's like so many of these. And here's the big question that I want to ask you to see much, um, how recent your knowledge of the pyramid is. How many sides are on a pyramid?
There's 4 sides on the pyramid, isn't there?
Not the ones on Giza.
How many
There's
sides?
8.
8 sides?
Each side has a line straight down the middle where when the sun hits it, there's a shadow. So they found out the pyramids on Giza are actually 8-sided, not 4-sided.
How is
And
that even
that,
possible? I don't.
yeah,
Mm.
that's where I'm saying, I don't think we could just have in 10 years been looking at these and going, okay, yeah. And I haven't even gotten to the most interesting part about the pyramids yet, and that's the inside.
Oh,
Because
the
we went
insides.
inside the Great Pyramid,
Oh,
we climbed
wow.
all the way up to the King's Chamber. And I'm going to share just my memory of what we saw because I have missing memory from being in the pyramid. Yeah.
Oh.
So we go into the King's Chamber, and you have to crawl through this little hole where you're on your hands, like on your elbows, like pulling yourself
You have to
through.
low crawl through it.
Like you literally could not be on your knees. You literally had to like shimmy yourself through there
Oh
and pull
my
yourself through.
gosh.
It's so small. And when you get in, there is a large black obsidian sarcophagus bottom that has no chisel marks on it, perfectly smooth on every corner and hollowed out on the inside to hold the sarcophagus. Well, I'm sitting there looking and I go, I just crawled through this tiny, tiny hole. And this thing is massive. Like you could lay in it and there's like, so if I laid on, when I laid on the bottom, there was like, so here's my body. This is the top of the sarcophagus.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
as you're crawling through a hole like this, this is not going to fit into that hole. So I was like, how did they get this in there? So our concept of building from the bottom up
Mm.
isn't how it was built. It was built from the top down because that sarcophagus would have to be placed before the room was placed
Mm-hmm.
because there's no door for it.
Right.
And you can't carry obsidian on your back up a
Mm-mm.
flight of winding stairs. Not going to happen.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And so everybody lays in the sarcophagus and they put a tuning fork to it, and everybody has an out of body experience. Then we all share our experiences, and then we leave. And this is where I say I had the missing memory. My memory recall says we left the king's chamber, walked out of the pyramid, went about our day. A friend of mine who was on the trip with me goes, "No, we left the king's chamber, went into the queen's chamber. I saw you go in the queen's chamber." And I said, what's the queen's chamber? I have no memory of the queen's chamber. And she's like, really? I was like,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And so it's like we have a kind of saying in the metaphysics, when if something happens and you're not ready to process it,
Mm.
it'll get put into like a room. And when you're ready to process it, the door will open and the memory will return. So whatever happened in the king's chamber, I was prepared for and okay with.
Yeah.
What happened in the queen's chamber, not so much. So
So your mind said, nope, we're not remembering this. Not gonna happen.
so I mean, and the amazing thing too on top of it, that is like just the icing on the cake, was this experience being in the king and queen's chamber
Mm.
happened on my birthday.
Oh my gosh.
So it was
And
like
when was your
my
birthday,
birthday
by the
gift,
way?
the
Tell
Ides of
everybody.
March, the 15th.
Wow.
So yeah, so on March 15th, back in 2014, I was inside the Great Pyramid, and I was like, that is a birthday that's gonna be like hard to top.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to top that one. Not unless you ended up somewhere else. Like, have you ever been? Well, you said you were in France. Did you ever go to the undergrounds in France?
No, in France, I was in the Cathar region on the south end of
Mm.
France near Spain. We did get to see
Oh,
the Mediterranean though.
really?
Yeah.
Did you ever go to Germany?
I have not been to Germany yet, which is really odd because my last name is German. And so someday I hope to step foot in where my family's ancestry comes from, part of it.
Same. I'd love to go to
But
Auschwitz because my great opa died in Auschwitz. So I would
I
love
have
to
a
go.
friend who goes to Auschwitz every once in a while and does
Really?
investigations, and he says it's the hardest
Oh,
investigation
I
he
bet.
ever does because the energy there, you can only spend a matter of a couple hours there.
Oh my
Otherwise, you will
gosh.
lose it. People have gone insane staying there too long.
Well, I'll have to get with you after the show and we'll have to get with your friend and see what we can find out and see if he knows anything about my ancestor that was there. He ended up going in there and I think he was only in there for 10 years and died on his birthday.
Well, my friend, he lives in Holland area,
Mhm.
but he travels around, and just for fun, he goes and investigates places. And he used to be on a TV show, and so he's like, "Oh, I'll just, do this or that." And he's from Scotland. He has family in Scotland, so he goes over to Scotland. And
Oh, cool.
but he's originally from the US, but he lives in Holland area. So He's
So
like,
you've,
he loves it there because everything is a matter of hours away, like
yeah, by
by
train.
ride, and I'm like, not where I live.
Nope. You gotta travel at least a day. Like I went from Oklahoma to New York 2 years ago, and it took me a day to get there. And that's driving a car going 75, 80 miles an hour pretty much the whole way.
Yeah.
So it's,
Fortunately, where I live in Texas, it would still take me probably a day to get to New York if I drove nonstop. But
that's me. I drove nonstop. I
some
didn't stop.
some parts, like if I went to California, it would take me 2 days because I need a day just to get out of Texas.
Yes. We went to Phoenix, Arizona, like many, many years ago. But it took us 15 and a half hours to get to Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, can you imagine us driving further into California? That would be a day and a half to get there.
Oh yeah.
It's so far, so far."
Te-
So
yeah, and my
that
friend Kel will laugh because she's like a matter of hours. She's everywhere in the UK. She can go and investigate places or be in Scotland,
nice.
and she's like, "Well, this city you said is like a matter of hours from you," and I go, "Yes, it's 3 hours one way, then 3 hours back. That's 6 hours. For you, it's 2 hours there, 2 hours back. That's not so bad."
No, no.
But yeah, and so she's like, "Well, that's not so bad." I said, and I was laughing and I go, "Kel, let me put it to you this way. We'll take the entire island of the UK and we can put it 7 times in Texas and have room left over." And she's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
our state is large and that's not even our true size.
And that's not even
Texas
the
actually
whole of the
got
United States. Texas is absolutely humongous.
Texas got carved up illegally when we became a
Oh.
state in Texas, state of the union.
Oh,
I was
really?
studying this and I was researching it, and the original size of the Republic of Texas was the southern border, being the Rio Grande, goes up to Canada and as far west as the Pacific Ocean. We
Holy
actually
shit.
had California, New Mexico, Arizona was a part of Texas,
Oh my
and
God.
parts of Colorado, and trying to remember my geography.
Utah, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, Colorado, and is it Montana that's above it?
Oh, I think it is
And then
Montana.
Canada. There was a thin strip like this much on a map that went down, and we're like, and then they go, and then when we became a state, they held this convention and go, okay, we're drawing your boundaries now, and we came up with the boundaries we have today.
Oh my gosh.
And we were like, hey, wait a minute, where's our land? And so now there's a big question of if Texas was to form itself as a republic again,
Uh
do we get our original land back, or what's going to happen to our original land?
I don't know. That's an interesting question because they've been giving a lot of land back to a lot of people here lately.
I know. And
So,
to be honest, being a Texan, there is some land that I'm like, y'all can keep over in the US. But we'll subtract that part. We'll be nice. We'll let you have that state.
you can
But we'll
have
take these
that
other 2 states.
one. Sir Oak Tree was talking about overseas, and he said that would be a ghost hunter's paradise overseas. Yes, it
Oh
would.
yeah.
It
I
definitely would.
mean, I've been looking into I watch Josh Gates sometimes,
Hmm.
and he went to a forest in Romania where there's a
Oh,
square patch
the
of land that has no trees that
Abaku
can grow.
chorus forest, I
I
think
think
it is.
so.
Yeah.
Like, that
Oh,
would be cool to check out.
that would be cool to check out. I've seen a lot of different people go there, and there's like it's kind of like a 60-40 kind of diagnosis of what they believe is going on there, because some of them say, oh, nothing ever happened. Well, you got to put it in perspective. It's like any paranormal investigator that knows the situations and places. Ghosts are not circus creatures. They are not going to just jump because you want them to jump. You may have gone there and they just didn't want to interact with you or something.
Or they were on
So,
vacation that day. They don't
right?
work 365.
Exactly. So I think that they just went at the wrong time. I would love to go there.
Yeah.
There and Dracula's castle. Most
Yeah, and
definitely.
it was funny is I was on an investigation Friday night with a couple of new people that have never been before, and they go, "So what happens on a investigation?" And I was laughing, and I go, "Well, first off, you have to be comfortable having a conversation with thin air for a few hours." And they look at me and they're like, "What do you mean conversation with thin air?" I'm like, "Well, you ask a question, you wait for you give them a chance to answer, then
Mm-hmm.
you ask another question as if they answered that one, and you make this conversation out of thin air in the
Yep.
hopes of something on the other in your video or recording will come through and you don't look like a complete nut job talking to yourself for hours." And they were like, "Oh, okay, well, that doesn't sound so bad." And I said, "That and, you know, watch equipment go off and, not go hysterical over it."
Yes. I'll be like, oh my God, did you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. Woodwalker Don says he wants to go to Waverly Hills. Have you ever been to Waverly Hills?
I haven't, and I kind of have a little bit of like, would it be really cool to go there? Yes. Am I gonna pay the exorbitant fee there? No. And do I feel like it's warranted? And it's not that, I don't feel like places should charge to help with the upkeep and everything,
Right.
but I think when some places they start thinking, oh, everybody's coming here, we're really popular, we can get this much,
Yeah.
it kind of prices out everybody else, and it's like, yeah, I'll just skip it unless, I happen to be there and a group's going in and they're like, "Hey, if you want to pay this small piece to help
Yep.
cover the big piece," I'm like, "Oh, I'll go."
Exactly.
But it's not going to be a destination where I'm like calling up some people and going, "Hey, let's all go to Waverly," because one, being a paranormal investigator, you got to pay that up front, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that. And two, not everybody that agrees to go is going to go. So you're going to eat
Exactly.
cost. So it's like I've learned, nope, no settling on these $1,000 places and going, I sure hope I get those 10 people that promised to go and not ask for refunds, because
Right.
not going to happen, because I don't want to
Exactly.
get stuck with the $1,000 bill.
Gotta trust the team that you're asking to go with, knowing that they're gonna go and not screw you in the end.
But and some of the places are really big, and I feel like some of the places, and I'm not calling Waverly out for this, so don't misinterpret, but some of the places when you see them on TV, they're so huge and everybody is like reacting to the slightest thing, and I think that's why people want to go there, is because they're wanting that hyped experience.
Yeah. I
And
don't ever go expecting anything to happen.
yeah, and I'm like, I don't know, it's like part of me though too feels like if I go there, you know, am I gonna feel it's worthwhile going if nothing happens? Because if you're totally honest, there is no guarantee anything at all will happen. And it kind of reminds me of when I was on a ghost walk with a friend of mine. We were walking through, and when we started the ghost walk, the person leading it, really nice lady, and does a really great ghost walk. She goes, "Are there any paranormal investigators?" Well, my friend and I raise our hands, and we're the only two.
Oh gosh.
And so we're with all these people, and I kind of walked to the side and was looking at this courtyard area of this house, and I started taking pictures with my phone. And this voice comes next to me and goes, "What did you find?" And I look over, and there's this guy standing there, and I'm like sitting there pausing for a second. And in that second, this is how my mind operates: goes, well, my phone is telling me there's an orb here, there's a spirit over there, there's a shadow down here, and all of this paranormal mist is over here. And what I say to him is, I don't know. I had to put it on a computer to find out. And
Right.
I'm like,
Yep.
and to me, that's the disservice of where those paranormal shows are now, is they make everything look like it's a matter of hours and
Yeah.
everything is instantly known. Where I loved when Ghost Hunters started, they would say day one,
Yeah.
investigation, walkthrough, day two, research, library,
Research.
day
Review.
three, review, what we have so far, day
Hmm.
four, reviewing evidence from the week, day five, presentation. So you knew it was a multi day,
Yeah.
several hours of everything.
Yep.
Now all the shows go, okay, we're here. We're gonna check out this place, and we're walking through the night, and the next, it doesn't even tell you next night. It's all of a sudden
Right.
like a different group is in there, so you're like, oh, so they
Wearing
switched it.
different clothes and
I'm like, oh, so they switched it up a little bit. Okay, the different people now. Okay, we switched up teams.
yep.
Still one night, and then they go, here's what we found, and it's like, what? You don't even show the review anymore?
No, they don't. It's just like they go in, they do it, and then they're done. They expect the audience to do it, and it's
Yeah.
like,
And on
wait a
Ghost
minute.
Hunters, Tango and Steve were the funniest to watch in the review, because
They were.
Tango would be sitting there, and all of a sudden he'd be like, and then he'd click a button, and then he'd be like tapping Dave,
Yeah.
really, Steve, and he's like, Steve, you got to hear this.
Listen,
He's like,
listen.
what? And then Steve will listen to it and he goes, ooh, mark that. And I'm
Yep.
like, what? The other
What?
guy
No,
made it look
show
like it was
us.
something really cool, and then that's like the way they were was just so funny. But
Yeah.
on their newest show, is it Ghost Nation? Was
I
it?
think it's Ghost Nation, yeah.
They had where they were watching this house, and they were in their camper watching the cameras, because Steve and Tango went to do something, and so it was just the head guy. And I hate when this happens, but I completely forgot his name. But
Jason?
he's Jason, that's it.
Mhm.
Jason's sitting in there, and all of a sudden you see the chair push out, and he's like hops up, and it's like, what in the world? And all of a sudden Steve comes by. He's like, Steve, you got to get in here. What? He's like, look. And on the camera, this black mass just starts showing up. They show it, and Steve's like, oh my God, I
Oh
can't believe
wow.
we caught that. And it starts forming a person, and it disappears to the right. And they go rushing in, and they're looking, and there's a wall there to
Hmm.
another room, but nothing's there, and nothing in the area to form this mass. And I was like, man, that was my favorite episode of that one, because I was like, just the way he reacted to it,
Yeah.
and actually seeing it firsthand, it's like,
That
whoa, that was cool.
is cool. That is cool. People in the chat are saying I miss Grant. That's way too much money. Way too much money to risk it. And it is a lot of money to risk it. But if you got a good group with you and you got and you can get a lot of people that you know and trust to go with you, it can dwindle down that cost pretty good. Especially big places like Waverly and the Missouri State Penitentiary and stuff like that. But I mean, look at the Missouri State Penitentiary. It's a reasonable cost. It's $400, and you get the night, and you can have up to 20 people go with you. So that could dwindle down the cost quite a bit.
Right. And I mean, as long as the money's going into like upkeeping and keeping it in fairly safe conditions, I mean, I'm not
Mm,
sitting there saying, let's go in and air condition everything and
right. But
you
$1,000
know,
though for
put
Waverly
the
Hills is way too
foundation,
pricey.
more solid. It's like, no, I get, that's not going to happen. But
Right.
that's the funny thing too about being in Texas is my friends that I investigate with and everything, we're like, yeah, we'll investigate happily a lot in the spring and in the winter,
Right.
but in the summer, unless there's air conditioning, we ain't going
When we're
because
gonna
what
go ahead.
I was gonna say, because people don't realize it can get to be like
Oh
112
yeah.
during the day, and it'll only get to say 90 at night, and then it heats up again for the next day. It's like,
But it
yeah,
stays a
we're
sauna.
not the desert where it gets super cold at night.
No. Don wants to know: have you ever seen have you ever had shadow people just make you feel drained of energy or life?
I haven't had shadow people do that, but I have had a portal do it.
Oh, a portal.
So I was at Lavaca prison. It's here in Texas near San Antonio. And I'm usually really good at picking up where portals are. And I walked into the cell on the second level, and the next thing I know, my shoulder is leaning on the door between the two cells in the area and the common area where they would sit even behind the locked doors. And my team is on the other side of the hallway and they're calling my name, and it's like I can't create a voice to respond. And next thing I know, my eyes are closed. I'm just there. And all of a sudden, it's like my head hits the floor and I come to and I'm like, what just happened? What's going on? And they're like, you got to see this footage. And
Really?
they film. I love my team at the time. It was so funny. I'm like non-responsive, and they take the time to film me being non-responsive,
Instead of
which is what you're supposed to do, actually, as
yeah.
you're a normal person.
Well, somebody else is supposed
But
to come in to check on you, but still.
well, the team lead taps me on my shoulder to see, if I respond, and it didn't look, when he tapped me, according to the footage, it looks like he just went like barely tapped me, but it was enough to offset me that I went straight down to the ground
Oh wow.
in the cell, and they took me outside and got me water and everything, and I was like, I don't know what happened. It's like I just was like I was there, then I wasn't there, and then I was there again. And I talked
Huh.
to a friend in Colorado that I have, and he goes, "You walked into a portal that someone left open." And I go, "What do you mean someone left open? How do you know that?" And he goes, "Well, the fact that you walked into it, because he knows me, and you didn't, and you got caught, and you got sucked all your energy out of, that's not a normal portal.
Oh.
That was somebody was doing something, left it open, and it just drained you." And I was like, dang. I thought I was protected from all of that. And so
Right.
he got me a quince seed, which is the seed that's put in resin from these nuns in Italy. And they create a 3-foot barrier around you to where nothing can come in. But the caveat is once you put it on, nothing can leave either. So if you got an attachment and you put a quince seat on, you're stuck with it until you take that quince seat off and
Oh
clear yourself.
wow.
So they always say if you take it off, you sage yourself with Palo Santo, clean yourself, and then put it on, and you're protected. You're good to go. I'm like, all right. So I only take mine off when I'm at home because every door has one over it. So I'm like, yeah, this is like safer than Fort Knox.
Oh wow.
In the
Yeah.
spirit terms, because got quince seat over everything, so nothing should be able to get in. So it's like, yeah, I'm safe here. But yeah, and so it was really strange looking at the video. And so what I did was I actually took that video from him and put a video message from me in the beginning of it and saying, okay, people, when you are doing rituals, when you are doing Ouija boards or anything, you are opening a portal and you have
Yeah.
to make sure you close that portal when you leave because this is what could happen. And then it's the video of me blanking out and
Oh,
collapsing.
do you have
And
this
I'm
video on
like,
your YouTube channel?
I do.
So
Probably buried somewhere. I'd have to really look for it.
y'all could go to his YouTube channel and search it for those that want to search it and find it. Woodwalker Don said where he used to live, there was a spot out in the woods that had like an odd pile of a few rocks there. If you sat there, you would completely zone out and lose track of time. That's kind of
So
scary, dude.
interesting thing about that is I was doing, they call it sky watching or CE5. It's where you're looking for UFOs in the sky.
Mhm.
Well, we were walking this ground in Arkansas, and there would be trees where the branches were crossed in an X, and they would say, "Oh, that's a sign a Bigfoot is around." They'll make the X formation, and so I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, there was these rocks in like an arc form. And I said, it's kind of interesting, these rocks that had the arc, because it's like the energy is like there's an energy coming from it, but it's coming in a way of going into the rocks and coming out of the rocks. And they were like, yeah, they'll create those and they'll stack them up, for different reasons. So that could be what he's experiencing is rocks
That's
that something has set up as like kind of like a gate or portal or kind of a marker to say, okay, our door's near here. So like if you think about it on vacation, it's like, remember where you parked the car? That's their way of saying, But remember where we Skywatching parked or the portal? CE5, it's where you look. But
oh my
the other thing
gosh.
too is in Aruba and other places, they do a thing where you stack the stones, and if you stack three or higher, it's to make the wishes come true. It's like the energy dwells up to where whatever you wish for in rock 3, 4, 5, if you do five stacked, as long as
Mhm.
it's standing, those three wishes will come true.
Huh.
I forget the
Sir,
name that they have for that, but there is a name for stacking the stones that way.
Sir Tree said medicine wills do that also. Medicine wills do what also, Sir Oak Tree?
Probably make the X's and
Oh, make the
stack the
X's.
stones
Okay.
on the
Oh my
ground.
goodness. So you spoke about UFOs, and I know you're into cryptids as well. What are your thoughts on Bigfoot and UFOs?
So the way I look at it is Bigfoot leaves almost no signs of where their homes are.
Mhm.
You can see where they traveled through, where they're walking. And in my mind, when we look at all the photos and it's like they're so blurry and everything, my mind goes, okay, if you're portal A going towards portal B, there's energy in between there that's not in the surrounding areas. So I'm like, so maybe the reason Bigfoot is blurry where all the trees are crystal clear is you're catching him going from portal A to portal B. And the energy in between the portals is causing him to go out of focus, but all the trees are still totally fine. And so I was like, that's theory one.
I
Theory
can understand
two
that.
is so I kind of believe that there is life underneath the ground.
Yeah.
And so they call it inner earth or hollow earth. I kind of give some credence to that. And so I'm like, Bigfoot may live in inner earth and comes up every once in a while to see what's going on. Maybe get some fresh air if they don't have fresh air down there. I don't know how it works down there, but or go on vacation, so they pop up here and then go back down.
Yeah.
But that's theory 2. And theory 3 is they're visiting us from another world, and so we're just catching them while on vacation Earth from where they live.
Right? They're the
And
aliens.
yeah, my caveat to that though is, Bigfoot, there are probably safer and better places to go visit than here.
Very much
No,
so.
no offense to planet Earth, but we tend to have a policy of if it's something we don't know, we shoot it first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
So
Unfortunately.
not the safest place for an alien to come down and say, "Hey, how's it going?"
What's up, guys?
Like, no, don't shoot. Swear, don't shoot.
Where we come in peace.
They're like that. That's what all the movies say. It's like, oh
Right?
yeah, true.
Uh-uh. Well, you've collaborated with multiple paranormal teams. What have you learned from these collaborations that has enriched your own investigative perspective?
The number one thing that I've learned is even though I may use a technique several times, I am far from mastering that technique because there's always another way to do it. And so, yeah, and the second thing that I've learned with collaborating with other teams is you don't always need to use equipment. There are some people who don't need the equipment, and that's totally fine. And, that's really cool that they can do that. So don't rely on just equipment, rely on everything that's going on around. And the third thing to me that's kind of a personal for me is everybody has their own experiences in their own ways. Nobody can tell anybody theirs is wrong. They're doing it the wrong way. Really, there is no wrong way to paranormal investigate in truth. However, my caveat to that is there are maybe safer ways to do it, but I don't have the right to say to anybody, the way I do it is the right way, you're doing it the wrong way. And so that's where I think a lot of the community gets in a rub is the people who've been doing it for 30 plus years are looking at the people who've done it for 3 days and are like, yeah, you're telling me I'm doing it wrong? I don't think so. You're the one doing it wrong. And they may actually be doing it right because they're using a newer way and aware of something new that they didn't
Mhm.
know about 30 years ago. And so that's where I like collaborating is because people have learned through their own experiences different ways of making it work. And so they may have a better way than I do, in which case I'll absorb that, use it, and, go from there until the next time that something comes up and they're like, oh, you're doing the old way. Look at this
Yeah.
way. And going, that's really cool. And I gotta say, I really love to collaborate. I've collaborated with people who've been in it for 30 years plus, and I would go up to 'em and I'd be like, "I'm only a year or 2 in at the time." And they pulled me aside and they said, "Look, don't discount you for only having 1 or 2 years.
Yep.
I'm learning from you. So don't ever sit there and put yourself to the side and go, I'm not experienced enough. I'll let the more experienced take the helm because we're learning from you as you're learning from us." And that was the greatest gift I got from them. And that gave me a confidence that I was missing because I was like, yeah, I viewed myself as being too green and like nobody'd listen to me. So I even turned
Right.
down a podcast show opportunity just a few months into investigating because the guy on the network, he pulled me aside. He's like, "You'd be perfect." I'm like, "Nobody's going to listen to me. I've only been in this for 3 to 7 months.
Heck, I
You know,
still
how
say
am I
that.
going
I've
to
been
get
doing this over a
anybody
decade.
yeah, I'm like, how am I gonna get anyone to come on a show and talk to me about anything when I got nothing to offer? And he's like,
Oh,
"You'd be surprised." And then we met up, I think it was like 2 years later at an event, and he goes, "So, what do you think about podcasting now?" And I was like, "All right, let's try it." Because I had a little bit more, I felt like more experience that I could draw from.
the experience is great. I love having the experience, but I still feel like sometimes I'm still so new to this that, and I mean, I've been doing this since 2012, and I don't have woo woo abilities or anything like that, that a friend of mine says all the time, the woo woo abilities. I do it because I want to get their story out there. I want to show people that this is something that is real, that, you can say all day long it's not, but that one episode where you can't explain something could have been a paranormal experience that you had. You just don't realize it because you're not investigating it. And like Sir Oak Tree said, newer, more sensitive equipment as we progress through time. And so he said, always use newer people for parabait. Right? No, I mean, I always love
Actually,
being the bait.
there is something to be said though
Hi,
about the
Booger.
new people being parabait because they are the ones that have no sense of what's going on, and so it's funny to watch them and being like reacting to sounds going on around them and being like, "Oh, what is this? What is that? What's
Right?
going on?" Where you get the people who are seasoned, they're gonna be like, "I'm not reacting to that. That's a pipe. That's the house shifting. I don't need to react to that." And or, "Oh, that's, this or that." And so it's like it's a little more like dull watching in a way because they're more experienced and they're like, "Okay, yeah, I can explain away this or that," and don't get so reactive. But the new people are like, "What was that? What was that? Oh my god!" And they're like reacting to everything,
They're
and it's
like
like
prairie dogs or cats.
you're
What?
just. I dubbed it as the squirrel effect, going squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. And, and
Yep.
it's like just pure hilarity to watch
Oh
and
my
just being
gosh.
like. But the one thing I will say about that though, that I think is the true mark of, in my opinion, the truest paranormal investigators are the ones who will sit there and when somebody who's new to it comes up and says, "Oh my gosh, I think I heard this," or "Oh my god, I think I saw this," or "What does this mean?" Doesn't sit there and look at him and go, "Are you serious?" They sit there and they remember being there themselves and going, "Oh, yeah, so what you saw, that's really cool you saw that. It could be this, or you might have really seen this or that." So, you kind of are validating them without saying, "Yes, you actually saw something," even though you don't know what they saw. So you're kind of like validating them in a way of wanting to keep them going,
Yeah.
then putting them down and going, no, that's not possible because this wasn't there. There's nothing in there. Nobody sensed anything. And so it's like, yeah, it kind of, you know, I like to look at it when people ask me questions and go, you know, I'm so grateful that I can answer this question with my own experience. But I remember what it was like for them
Yep.
being in their shoes, being closer to that newbie status than most. But yeah, and I feel like that's something I don't think I'll ever lose because it's like, yeah, I want people to be interested and want to do this. So if I put them down or make them feel like what they experienced was just the mind making something up, we're not going to have many paranormal investigators going into the future.
Nope.
We got to remember where we came from and that everybody had their first
Always.
start.
Always, always. Woodwalker Dawn said, I wish I could describe that feeling by the rocks. It was a love hate type thing because your curiosity liked the experience and the ability to think absolutely nothing while sitting there, but it was also a feeling of not being in control of yourself fully and not quite alone feeling.
So I would say then he probably was near a portal because natural portals, beings or star beings or whatever, extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call them,
Mm,
they go back and forth through those. And so they probably were there watching, meaning no harm. But it's, I think the meditative state was probably they were trying to calm you down so you didn't freak out about feeling watched and start wanting to look around everywhere and drive yourself nuts going, I know I'm being watched but nothing's here, what's going, just go into a tailspin.
yeah.
And so I feel like they do that a lot, that a lot of spirits will, when they're about to make themselves known or they're around, will calm you down so that you're feeling okay and safe and not like ready to attack whatever's there in self-defense.
Yeah. I can see that. I want to go back
These
into
are
your
good questions.
They are. I want to go back into your energy healing. How do you kind of approach the concept of energy healing in relation to paranormal encounters?
Oh, that's a good question. So energy healing on its own, I'll approach that first. So energy healing, I used to think when I would watch, a YouTube or watch a video or somebody doing it, I would think that person is using their energy or something around them to heal someone, and how amazing it is that they're able to do that and not show any reaction to it. And then when I learned Reiki, energy healing, and all the modalities that I learned, the number one thing they told us was draw from the universe, put the intention of what's going to happen into what you're doing, and just trust it's going to happen. And so you're learning to tap into something you're not using your own. And they said never use your own because that can cause harm to you or could cause you to get really tired and vulnerable to stuff that's around, which, and the harm comes in is, so you've heard of the term vampire. Well, they call them energy vampires, and they unknowingly, when you share your energy, someone can unknowingly go, "Oh, here's a source of energy. I'm feeling tired," and start pulling, and not know they're pulling from you, and you're going to start to feel tired and more tired and more tired, and that person's feeling better and better and better, and that's a real disservice, and that person doesn't know when to stop, and so they could actually drain you to the point that you go unconscious.
Oh God.
And so they tell you never use your own, pull from the universe. Universe is unlimited. I mean, look at, where we're at. How many galaxies, multi
Yep.
galaxies, universes, ultraverses, you name it, it's unlimited in essence. So if you pull from that and use that and with someone and they latch onto that, you get to walk away and be like, that's fine. And that person is going to be happy for the longest of times because they're on an unlimited source of joy and happiness or whatever you were infusing them with. So that's a good thing.
Yep.
And so, yeah, and the other thing is, you have to trust it, because if you don't believe and trust it, it won't work, because you have to, it runs, like I said, on intention. So if your intention is like, if I hurt my arm and my intention is just to stop the pain, if I put energy into it and I'm like, well, that was a waste, nothing happened, the arm's still going to hurt, even though it's starting to heal. But because I don't believe it's starting to heal, I won't even know it. And I'll go do something else and I'll say, oh, the medicine, did it.
Yeah.
Or, oh, yeah, I had to go see a specialist for it and maybe didn't. And so that's the important thing. And how it ties to the paranormal is, I think, that trust and belief in yourself is put on another level, because doing the energy work, you had to do that. And so now you're like going into this space and going, am I going to experience this? Am I going to, you know, if this happens, am I going to, how am I going to react? You're coming at it from a place of, okay, if I hear something, I'm going to believe that I heard something, and I'm going to investigate, figure out what did I hear, before going and being one of those people that goes, "Did you hear that?" And everyone's like, "Hear what?" And you create a scenario of everyone's now going, "Yeah, I heard that," because you don't want to be the person that didn't hear it. And
Right.
so, yeah, and it also gives you the confidence of when you're with people and they did hear voice, like on um Friday night. There were, the couple I was with before the rest arrived. They were like, I heard a voice outside. And I said, really? I didn't. And I realized that's okay. And not everybody's going to hear, but it gave me the confidence of believing in myself, of going, I don't need to say I heard something to feel accepted and everyone to go, okay, yeah, this person really is who it is. It gives you the courage to be more authentic. And as you're more authentic, I feel like more stuff will happen for you.
Yeah. Honesty is a big thing in this field, for anything in this field. And because one time you get caught in a lie, it's just, you're
You're
done.
done.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely done. Woodwalker Don says, again with the witchcraft techniques. Sir Oak Tree says, ask him if he has gained any abilities from the years of investigations.
Well, I will say, actually, I can say yes, because when I first started, I could only sense them being around. And then as it progressed, I've actually now gotten to where I've seen apparitions and I hear EVPs without having to have a digital recorder. I can hear their actual voices
Oh, nice.
if I'm focused enough. And paying enough attention. And so I would say, yeah, over the years, and learning to trust myself and opening up to what's possible. Yeah, I would say I've had ability levels increase, but the hard thing is, like, so seeing an apparition, I couldn't tell you what to do to make it so that you can see an apparition. I can't teach it. I only know it just happened for me. I don't know what I did to, build that muscle to where it activated and was like, boom, here it is. That's the
Ah,
hard thing is I can't teach it, but I
yeah.
know it's there.
Woodwalker Don said it was because I had brought up the cryptids and what we think of the Reiki internet BS, a mass manifestation. That's why he talked about the witchcraft techniques.
I did study paganism, and
Woodwalker Don is into paganism. I do believe. Am I right, Don? Please tell me I'm right, because I've known you for years and I'm gonna feel really bad if I got it wrong.
so anything that's natural and teaches you to use from nature, I
Mm.
feel like that's a good thing. But the second you cross the line and you're using something natural for getting even with someone or trying to prove something to someone, I feel like you've crossed the line and you've kind of are getting into the not so friendly dark side of stuff. And so I'd caution you on that because it may make you feel good at first, but in the long run, it's going to bite you in ways you can't even imagine.
That is true. Woodwalker Don says more just witchcraft, not paganism. Sir Oak Tree
There is a
says,
difference.
yeah, there's a difference between that, Wiccan, of course, black magic, blood magic. There's quite a few different ways of.
There, I actually was talking with someone and I hadn't thought about it, but there's water magic, air
Oh, air
magic.
magic, fire magic,
It's
earth
like
magic. Yeah.
everything around us has a magic, and so you can focus and learn from that and utilize that. And I'm like, wow, I never thought about it. Like tree magic
Yeah.
or wood magic, or I mean, so really, magic, as much as we'd like to say doesn't exist, is everywhere and all
Yeah.
around us, and we're using it without even knowing it.
Sir Oak Tree says not everyone is going to hear, and also not everyone is going to get the same EVP when all recorders are on. That I can attest to. I've had that happen to me before.
Right. And another thing that I will say is, so I mentioned having the shows that I do and the topics that I bring on. And why do I do that? I've had a lot of people ask me, and the simple answer is when I am doing an episode on a topic, whoever's watching that show is having a seed planted in their mind about that topic. My job, therefore, is done. That's it. That's the whole point of my episode. Now, somebody may, like 5 days, 5 years, 5 months down the road, go, I saw something about that, and now I'm really curious about it and want to know more about it. They'll find the episode, rewatch it, and gain a deeper level, go and research and find more information. That's great if they do that. Then there's the flip side of they may watch it and never ever sit there and go, I ought to look into that. In which case, that's perfect too. I'm okay with that. What they do with the seed is on their own selves. I just feel like I did my job of planting it. And whatever they do after that, that's totally up to them.
Dr. also said the best equipment to detect the paranormal is your skin, in my opinion.
There is some truth to that because feeling the cold in a hot environment is a sign. Feeling the breeze is a sign. If there's no wind, but yet you feel a breeze, or the hair moves when you're in a area where there is no fans or anything. Yeah,
Yep.
the body is a great tool.
It is. It is. I like to go in with a camcorder, a digital recorder, and my senses.
I like the body cam.
I would love to have like a 360 cam that can just get every which way, because if I am hearing something from behind me, I'd love to have a cam behind me that can get it by the time I'm turned around. Maybe it got something before I could see it, or
Yeah.
to the left or to the right. I would love to be able to do that. But that's, of course, why all the static cams are usually around us. But at the same time, if you're out there and you don't have all the static cams everywhere, to have something that's 360 that could just see everything around you, that would be amazing.
I would. And there's always the caveat, though. I find that is like the biggest nemesis to every paranormal investigator is you're walking around, you got the cameras on, all angles are covered, and you go, okay, time to wrap it up. You turn all the cameras off, and stuff starts flying,
Yeah.
or noises start coming, and you're like, well, now I don't have any of this on equipment because it happened after the fact.
Nope. Or oak tree or high EMF or your hair stands up or goosebumps, of which you can't do on command. Yep, exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh, I've kept you for 2 hours, Michael. Time flies when you're having a good conversation.
It does.
Well, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your shows, when your shows are again, and let them know so they can reach out to you and watch.
So all my shows are on Rumble and YouTube and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my profile, and I believe I sent you a link tree which has all
You
my
did.
links in it. So that has my LinkedIn profile. All my episodes are listed on IMBD, so you can find them there. And if one catches your interest, it gives you the episode number, the date it was aired. So you can go and search in YouTube or Rumble, find the episode title, match the date, know it's the right one. And on YouTube, the links are on my link tree, but I'm thinking Riding Through the Unknown has its own channel. Paranormal Versus has its own channel on Rumble and YouTube. And I think the energy that surrounds us is under Tetsu.
I do
Which
have all
is
your links in the description, so they should
okay,
be able
cool.
to
So,
go to all of them through those.
right, and I recently restarted the energy that surrounds us in Paranormal Verses on X. So,
Awesome.
unfortunately, I don't have enough links to air Riding Through the Unknown on X right now because they limit where I stream from, how many.
Ah,
So,
yeah.
have to pick and choose, and so X just didn't make the cut for that show.
Oh no. Well, that's understandable
But
though.
yeah, so when something else comes around, you can also find them on Facebook. They air on legitpodcast.com. The energy that surrounds us and riding through the unknown does. And on the Paralinks network, you'll find all three shows. The energy that surrounds us, riding through the unknown, and paranormal verses. And if you want to check out the Beast system, that is on Rumble. only on my side, but if you catch the description of the episode, Emily puts all the links to her Facebook and her Rumble pages in her
Awesome.
description. So, and I copy her description as my description because I am one of those people that I will not take credit for anything that's not mine. So,
Right?
it's her show. She creates it. She allows me to air it. So I copy what she does so it matches hers.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Fantabulous. Thank you so much for being on. Don't go anywhere. Sir Tree, thank you for being in. All you guys in the chat, thank you so much for all those awesome questions that you had for Michael. That was amazing participation you guys did today. Awesome. I heart your faces, all of you. Next week, I'm going to have Robert Prevo on. So tune in next week for Robert Prevo. Don't forget, Tuesday is Amok Mostly Paranormal Podcast. That's at the YouTube channel, Amok Paranormal. Don't forget that one. I co-host that one with 3 other fantabulous people. Again, Michael, thank you so much for being on. Don't go anywhere. You guys stay free, stay safe, always do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And until next time, bye, y'all.
Bye, everyone.
Switch it on and come along. Haunted houses all night long. Gaming streams and ghostly scenes. Just chatting with the in-betweens. IRL, she's on the case. Finding spirits in each place. Every game she plays with flair. Geeks, paranormal, she's there. Ghosts and games all night. Geeks, paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so right. Trying to stream, it's quite a sight. From the haunted house she flies, gaining worlds under the skies. Chat and laugh, let's have a blast. Geeks paranormal here at last. Ghosts and games all night. Geeks paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so right. Try to stream, it's quite a sight. From the haunted house she flies, gaining worlds under the skies. Chat and laugh, let's have a blast. Geeks paranormal here at last. Ghosts and games all night. Geeks paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so right. Try to stream, it's quite a sight. In the dark she finds the light. Streams of fun, she's out of sight. Every ghost and gaming fight. Geeks paranormal shines so bright. In the dark, she finds a light. Streams so fun, she's out of sight. Every ghost and gaming fight. Geeks paranormal shines so bright. Ghosts and games all night. Geeks paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so right. Try to stream, it's quite a sight. It's quite a sight.